Welcome to Trailblazers on WDIY 88.1 FM. Today we're taking a ride into the world of classic cars, craftsmanship, and leadership with someone whose story is as timeless as the machines he restores. My guest is Keith Flickinger, Curator and Chief Operating Officer for the U.S. operations of the NB Center for American Automotive Heritage right here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's an extraordinary institution founded by Nicola Bulgari, the legendary vice chairman of the Bulgari luxury brand. Keith leads one of the most remarkable collections of mid-century American automobiles anywhere in the world, not as museum pieces, but as living, breathing works of art. Under his leadership, the NB Center doesn't just restore cars, it restores stories, legacies, and a piece of American identity itself. We're going to talk about Keith's personal and professional journey, his early influences, how he connected with Mr. Bulgari, the incredible work happening at the center, and what leadership looks like when you're managing artisans, educators, and visionaries under one roof. Keith, welcome to Trailblazers. It's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you, Melody.
Keith, take us back to the beginning. When did that spark for automobiles first ignite for you? Was there a moment maybe in your dad's garage when you knew that this was going to be more than a hobby? Can you share that with our listeners just a little bit?
Well, I mean, it really went to a whole another level when my father, he was working at Mack Trucks and he was a painter. And for me, I would play with matchboxes, obviously, as a little boy. But I would always in the garage tinkering, taking something apart, putting it back together. And I think I was about 8 years old when my father left me actually spray something with a spray gun in our garage at home. And my dad always had projects going here and there for friends, relatives, whoever. And I remember when I was 12, my dad got me a toolbox. And I thought that was the best thing ever. And, my whole life has been all about little journeys and little things that excited me. And I thought, well, wow, I'm finally there. Yeah. I have a toolbox. And, and never dreamt of doing anything that I've done in my life professionally. And then my dad, as he grew older and I grew older, I got into be 13, 14 years old. And I was super excited about what I was going to do and what I liked doing, but I did not know where or how I was going to, attack that. And I never really connected with modern cars. I just liked vintage cars, anything from like 1903 up to maybe the 60s. I really didn't attach to modern stuff. It was vanilla to me a little bit, like it was just a means of getting from A to B. The vintage cars had character, had a personality of their own. You could identify every single car just by looking at it. And even in those days, or even now, a Ford Tempo and a Impala and they all look alike to me.
Going back.
Yeah, but I just never connected with it. And so that was the beginning of it with my father. My father is my biggest influence. And I am where I am today, because of him.
So he was a major influence in your craft. What did you learn from him, not just about restoration, but about patience and precision and pride in doing things the right way?
Yeah. Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree with me. My dad was such a perfectionist, and he would make me do things over and over and over again until I got it exactly the way it should have been. He wouldn't let me cut corners. Our family was very, when he came home from Mack Trucks, dinner was on the table at 5 p.m. If you were not there for it, there was no dinner. And everything was very, that way. He was in the service. He was in the Navy. So even down to, his clothing and his dresser drawers, like white T-shirts were folded like they just are new out of the pack after they're laundered. Like my mom didn't even do them right. My dad had to have everything. I opened his drawer and it was like, oh my God! I shut his drawer. I'm like, okay,
don't touch anything.
And this is how, and that's how everything happened. Even all of our tools in my toolbox had to be in line and organized and straight. I couldn't just wipe them off and put them in. You know, and as a little boy, it's like. But I learned pretty quick that was not acceptable if I wanted to be part of my dad. back in those days, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize it, but, when I first started my first job, it was like, wow, am I glad
You
my
had that
dad
foundation.
made me do that.
Yeah.
It taught me, and I'm really glad for that, and I really enjoyed the experience with my father.
He taught you well.
Thanks, I hope so.
Well, so before the NB Center, you ran your own restoration business here in Allentown. What did those early years of entrepreneurship teach you? I mean, we're trailblazers, right? So we talk a lot about leadership and kind of honing your craft. But what did that teach you about craftsmanship, about customers, and about building a name that Nicola Bulgari himself would one day seek out?
Yeah, well, it's. I'm going to go back even a little farther for you because I met Mr. Bulgari through pretty much my mentor. My mentor was Maurice DeAngelis. Maurice DeAngelis was a superior craftsman in the antique automotive world. He actually worked on Mr. Bernard Berman's cars. Bernie Berman owned Allentown Brake and Wheel. His brother Phil Berman was Hess's department stores.
Oh.
So, and Maurice was a genius to me. He was like a god to me. And so when I was working at Wendling Restorations in Macungie, Pennsylvania, I was working with two brothers that were in their 80s, George and Bob Wendling. And then I had Dalton and Donald Wendling, their two sons. And then me and another young guy. Okay, I was 17 years old. And I thought I was in heaven. I mean, I'm restoring Duesenbergs and Packard dual cals and V16 Cadillacs. And the day that set me apart there is I was restoring a 1930 Cadillac V16 touring car. And as I was taking the inner door panel off of a door, and that's back when we had Polaroid cameras. Do you know what that is, Melody?
I do.
Okay. And and then I had a bag and tag. So you put the pieces in a plastic Ziploc bag.
Sure.
You mark where it's from. You take a Polaroid picture. You wait for it to develop. You're shaking it. Yep, good. Put it in a bag because that's the only way you're going to remember how to put the stuff back together.
Right.
And I remember on the inside of out of the door panel, on the inside of the outer panel, it said Bob Wendling in big like shoe polish. And I'm like, what is this? So I find his brother. He comes over. They built the car new. They worked at Fleetwood Coachworks in Fleetwood, Pennsylvania. So now imagine, Melody, I'm working on a car that my bosses built new. Okay? That's when all of the detail went to a whole different level for me. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, this car, if this guy, I think he owned a pipeline company. What if he takes it to a show and they're going to judge it? And they're saying, oh, I don't think this is right. Oh, really? Well, let me introduce you to George and Bob Wendling. They built the car new. So it was like I got pushed off over the falls.
Yeah.
And I my mind went to a whole nother, like a sixth gear. And there was no sixth gear. It was a 4-speed. And I am humming. And there was no turning back.
And so you developed this craft within you and this passion really, and you turned it into craftsmanship.
Yep.
Enter in all these cool people here regionally.
Yeah.
What happens now? This part of the story I love. Right? It's fascinating. It fascinates everyone. How did you first come to meet Nicola Bulgari? And what's the real story, the backstory behind how the worlds collided? And please don't leave anything out because it's really a fun story.
So I left there when I was 24 at Wendling Restorations, and I started my own business. And in I had 511 customers at that time. I mean, I did a car for Mr. Monahan that owned Domino's Pizza.
Oh,
So I had good customers.
right.
But no one with the passion like Nicola Bulgari. He's way beyond me. And I met him in 1995. I got a call from an insurance company called J.C. Taylor, and he said, we have a customer, and we want to send you their 1942 Buick Woody Estate wagon. It was on an estate up in Millbrook, New York, and it went over to a neighbor's house. He drove it there, but he forgot to set the handbrake properly. And this is a standard transmission. And it popped out of gear, and it went down a ravine into oak trees.
Oh, my.
The car got sent to me from the insurance company. How did that happen? Well, Mr. Bulgari called Bernie Berman, because he was a car collector locally. And Bernie Berman's wife was in a cooking school in Italy for 2 years. And Mr. Bulgari met her there, and she started talking about her husband collecting cars. Oh. So Mr. Bulgari's ears went up, like, what? What? In the USA? So he called Bernie. Bernie said, you need to take it to this boy in Allentown with a baseball hat, a.k.a. me. But Mr. Bulgari was excited to hear that, and he hung up. And so he calls Mr. Berman back, and he says, well, how do I get in touch with that guy? He says, oh, you need to call Maurice DeAngelis, a.k.a. my mentor. And he calls Mari, and he says to Mari, Mr. Berman said I'm supposed to call you to get a phone number because I want to have my car repaired by this boy in Allentown with a baseball hat. And Mari says, oh, yes, that's Keith. He wears a baseball hat. Okay. And I've worn a baseball hat my whole life since I'm 14. Every day I have hundreds and hundreds of them. So I get the car sent to me through J.C. Taylor. I never meet Mr. Bulgari or anything. And, we didn't have phones. We had no cell phones. We had no internet. I mean, none of this stuff yet. So I get the car, and I'm working with the insurance adjuster. Okay. I'm going through the car, and I'm fixing all it really was wrecked pretty hard. It pushed the hood back into the wood. Oh, wow. And so I'm trying to go through and do my best of everything I do, and I get a call from Connie Ruta in New York, and she says, and I answer Precision Motor Cars, Keith speaking, and she goes, this is Connie Ruta from Bulgari. I understand you have my boss's car there getting repairs. So I asked what kind of car was it, and she didn't know. And I said, well, I have 8 cars in the shop. And I said, what's the name? And she said, Bulgari. And I have no idea who or how to spell, nothing. And I knew could look at my job tickets. I was working on my stuff, and nothing looked like that-ish. And so I told her to call back, find out what kind of car it is. Maybe I can help her. She calls back all proud, and it's a 1948 Buick Woody Estate wagon. I said, wow, that's odd. I said, I do have one of those here, but there's only 3 left in the world. And 1942, they only built cars for 4 months because they turned all into war production. And so there was 3 left. And when you restore a car, you document every car out there, as many as you can for authenticity. You take photographs of original cars, restored cars, junk cars. And so I knew there was a green one in Vermont and a yellow one in California and this burgundy one in my shop getting repaired. And I said, she goes, well, maybe that's it. I said, yeah, but it says VNI Incorporated. And she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. That is his car. That's the company name, for a holding company for his cars. Veronica, Natalia, Hilaria, his daughters, VNI. I said, okay, we got that cleared up. I said, what can I do for you? Well, he would like to come in this Thursday. Can you work late? Well, work late. I worked 7 days a week, till 8, 9 o'clock every night. I said, sure. So this car pulls in, and there's a driver, and there's this 6'4" guy gets out of the passenger front seat with a trench coat and blonde hair. And out of the back gets this 5'2" gentleman, very Italian-looking, big black mustache, black hair. So I walked over to him. This was my first mistake. And I said, welcome to Allentown, Mr. Bulgari. And he says, my name is Alfredo Mercado. I'd like to introduce you to Signor Bulgari. It's the big guy in the passenger seat. Look like a bodyguard. Again, no internet. How do I know who anybody is? So I shake his hand. They come in. They look over the car. Now, the Italian flair comes out. They're screaming at each other, but I realize it's all in passion. And when they go to leave, they thank me. And they say, we're going to send you a list of extras Mr. Bulgari wants to have done. Okay. I had a fax machine. Well, coming through the fax machine, redo the interior, redo the engine, redo the driveline, redo the brakes, redo all the wood. Whoa. Who's paying for this extra stuff?
Right.
And when and who? Why? I don't know nothing. And so I called the card that Alfredo Mercado gave me. And he says, don't worry, everything will be taken care of. You can, okay, fine. I work trustful. A handshake is a handshake. Mm-hmm. So it took another 8 months to do all the rest of the extra work. And, I wasn't getting paid for that extra work per month. I got paid from the insurance company for the damages, but none of the extra work. So I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'd work on this guy's car I'd work on this one, because I wasn't scheduling this in. I wasn't prepared to do, these many hours of extra work on a car that I scheduled in to do this many hours. But I did it, and I called, Connie Ruta when it was done and told her it was done, and she asked me, if I can set up a truck to have it picked up, and she'll send the address. I said, sure, no problem. And, I'm like, okay, what about the bill? And, back then, it was like $38,000.
Oh, wow.
Which was a lot of money
Yeah.
back then of extra that I robbed Peter to pay Paul, and I had 2 guys working with me. So, I had to make payroll, and it was a small operation. But we did a lot of cars. We pumped out work. And I'll never forget, she says, well, can you send me your bank wiring information? My what? I never heard of this in my life, bank wiring information. I didn't know what that was. I got paid by check. So I said, I really don't know what that is. I said, how about I give you my bank? So John Dentbrenner was the president of the bank, local bank, and I had restored a car for him. And so I called him, and I asked what it was about. He says, oh, don't worry, we'll send it to them. So I think it was about 5 days later, I got a call from the bank and said, hey, Keith, we got that wire for you. And I'm like, yeah, what exactly does that mean again? Well, here I learned that the money got wirely transferred, and it's in my account, and I can take it out and spend it. Well, because I was robbing Peter to pay Paul back then in that job, I had $38,000 some odd dollars that was like mad money. And I'm thinking, I thought, but I knew it wasn't a good thought. I thought, well, maybe I can retire.
Yeah.
Because it was like, smart move I made. I bought more equipment, just invested more into my company. And,
Sure.
And then after that, I didn't hear anything. Car's gone. I got paid. 3 months go by. Not good, not bad, not ugly, nothing. I thought, okay, well, in my world, I do the car for the car. I don't do it for the customer. The car deserves to be the way it was, exactly as close as possible. The owner is secondary to me, and it always has been, because that's what gives me excitement and pleasure, and that's more important than anything to me. And of course, I got to please the customer because they're paying the bill, but that's my philosophy. And so 3 months go by. I get a call from Connie Ruta in New York and says, Senor Bulgari's on the phone. Can you take the call? I'm like, sure. And by the way, that's on my rotary phone, which was awesome.
That's cool.
So he's on the phone and he's apologizing. I am so sorry. I have never called you. I don't go to this place in New York, my homestead. I thought, I didn't know. I thought he lived in New York. Where I have no idea where he lived. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. And he said, I can't believe it. Everything works on the car. It's perfection. I said, well, I'm glad. I said, that's why. He goes, yes, but I am so sorry I never called. But I have not seen it in 3 months. I said, okay. He says, this is a Tuesday. He says, what are you doing Thursday? And I'm like, oh, boy, here goes this Thursday thing again.
Oh, boy.
And I said, well, I'm working in my shop. But he says, can you come to New York? And I said, where in New York? He says, New York, New York. And where's New York, New York? I in my mind, I never said it to him, but it's like, are you stuttering? I don't know where New York, New York is. I never went to the Jersey Shore. I had no care. He says, don't worry, I'll send you a car. So he picks me up. Next morning, it's like 7 o'clock. Car picks me up. Come around 730 Fifth Avenue in New York, and I see Bulgari on the side of this building. And I'm like, oh, shit.
The name Bulgari. Next to, I'm sure, other famous buildings.
Yeah.
Bearing similar names.
I'm like across the street is like there's Louis Vuitton. Okay, I don't know who he is, but he's somebody. His name's on a building. So I get out of the car, and Alfredo meets me. I walk in, I sit down, and I'm at this beautiful desk, a beautiful painting of somebody. I find out it's his father behind Mr. Bulgari comes in. And to give you an idea of this meeting, it lasted no longer than 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, and he starts out by saying, and by the way, Melody, he is the most polite, gracious. He shakes your hand like I can't even explain it. It's so soft and so just gentle and a real great gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he came up the right way.
Yeah.
And he was, but anyway, so he says how excited he was and how the car works and everything works. Everything's perfect. He says, I can't believe it. And I thanked him again. I said, well, that's great. I'm so happy for that. I really am. And he takes his glasses off and he says, can you take care of all my cars? And I'm like, how many do you have? He goes, I don't know how many I have, and they're all over the world. Nobody's taking care of them. Damn it. It's a travesty. Didn't really answer my question, but I said, I said, I can help you. Yes. He goes, tell me. I said, well, how about we start slow? Tell me. I didn't know what I was going to say. I was trying to buy time to think of something because, like, I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in New York, which I've never been. You know, these buildings are, I get nosebleed looking up. And I said, how about we look at all the cars? And he's like, yeah. And it was like, he was like waiting for some explosion at the end. And he's like, yeah. I said, and then we see what they need. Yeah. I'm like, and we do all the mechanicals first, and then we do all the cosmetics secondary. That way, all the cars run and drive. Everything will work. They'll be maintained. People will be looking at, bravo, Keith, bravo. He gets up and he walks out.
So you get back in the black car, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then what?
Alfredo takes me around New York for the whole day.
Oh, wow.
Twin Towers, tours, dinners, lunches. Like, I was treated like a king. Car shows up back in my office at almost midnight. I get out, car leaves. I'm standing there like, okay, what was that all about? I don't know. It's Thursday. Friday I'm working, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Just going about my business. I totally almost forgot about it. Tuesday, John Dentbrenner calls me from the bank.
Oh.
Hey, Keith, we got a wire for you today. I'm like, wire? Oh, no, not that thing again. So I'm like, oh, my gosh. I said, okay, thank you, and I hung up. And I had this old machinist desk that I have had my whole life, and is my desk. And I opened the metal drawer on the right, and I'm looking for the business card for Connie or Alfredo. And till I do that, my phone rings again, and it's John at the bank. And I'm like, yeah. I said, he goes, well, don't you want to know how much it's for? Well, I thought that Mr. Bulgree didn't know that somebody in his company or his world, now that I saw the building, paid it the $38,000, and now he's paying it personally, and he paid me double, and I feel horrible.
Yeah.
Like, that's my mind. So I'm trying to dial in, like, hey, what, you know? And I said, yeah, it's like $38,000 maybe. He goes, no. He says, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. He says, well, somebody from Spa, Italy, wired you over $250,000 today.
Oh, my God.
So I guess I'm supposed to be doing something, and I have no idea. No idea, Melody.
Time to catalog the cars
and
phase them.
I know
oh my
nothing.
God.
Nothing.
Wow.
I found out pretty quick, though. They're calling me, Keith, do you have a passport? What's that? I'm a Pennsylvania Dutch boy. Mom's a homemaker. My dad, Mack truck worker, was in the Navy before that. End of story. So they got me an accelerated passport, this thing. Next thing you know, private jet, 6 different countries.
So the partnership took root. What was the vision, and what's housed there now? What is happening there now? How is it evolving? I mean, you guys are just into a lot of cool different things. You have different buildings that house different
businesses,
stages.
Yep.
Yeah, and so talk to me a little bit about that and some of the partnerships that have grown as a result of that with educational institutions and how that's evolving.
Yeah. So. As time went on, and Mr. Bulgree, his passion came with the Vatican cars. So as a young boy, those were big American classic cars, and in Italy there was not a lot of those. It was all Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Fiat, race cars like little, but not these big elegant cars that you could drive across America with reliability, stability, comfort, and that's what he dreamt of. And so when we got together, I realized what his passion was about his collecting and what he liked driving. And it's not a static collection. It's drivable. Every car is plugged into a maintained charger. Every car is licensed. Every car is insured. 200 strong right now just in Allentown that can go anywhere with reliability, comfort. And so as we were starting to do this together, we built a campus of 27 acres. And we have separate buildings for different jobs. So we have one building where we disassemble, document, and do the metal work, fabrication, and paint work. We have another building where we do just mechanical, whether it's restoration, preservation, or maintenance of the collection cars. Then the next building is upholstery shop. So we do all upholstery in there. We also own a gauge company, which used to be John Wolfe and Company. It's a gauge repair facility that does aeronautical, boats, and automotive. Another building aside of it is a machine shop where we do all crank grinding, crank straightening, magnafluxing, cylinder head service, and complete engine rebuilds. That is open to the public now. And with all these entities that we're doing, now we have 4 other buildings with collection. We have a lodge. We have an old drive-in movie theater, which we resurrected called the Boulevard Drive-In.
Because it used to be the compound used to be the drive-in.
Exactly.
In Allentown.
In Allentown.
And literally, if you're going down, what is it, Union?
Union Boulevard.
You're going to, if you sneeze, you miss it.
Yep, right when you go past Coca-Cola Park and a charter school, you look to your left, you can't miss the screen. It's the largest existing outdoor movie screen in the world. It's 60 by 100 feet, 6,000 square feet, and we have it up and running. And so the preservation of not just the cars, but the time of the 30s and the 40s of when America will never be repeated. And it's the dress, the movie, the cars, the music. And so this all became a new world for me, but I dove into it, and we've developed something, and now we're so far down the road. I've been doing this for 31 years for him, just his cars. I sold my company to him. I sold my buildings, and now it's in an Italian foundation, and it will live on forever. So my new job is to teach. I don't need to restore a car. I need to educate the next generations so that they have the mindset to do it the way we did it, and the mindset to hand it off and find those next generations to hand it off to their next generations. And, we're working with colleges. We're working with one of the biggest schools that we work with is McPherson College in Kansas. Yeah, Kansas. They have a 4-year degree in automotive restoration.
Wow.
And we work with Pennsylvania's College of Technology in Williamsport, part of Penn State. We work with Northampton Community College. We work with many of these local as well. And I just am so happy to have, I think there's 7 individuals on our property working, and they're anywhere from ages of 20 to 28. And that gives me the best joy, and that's my next chapter.
That's incredible. Well, and one other thing, actually 2 other things, is that you guys actually have a partnership with the Smithsonian, or had, or still, or can you talk to that a
Yeah,
bit?
so what we've been doing in the past here is we're documenting cars for the Library of Congress with the Historic Vehicle Association. And all the photography was done on our property, and so if you go into websites, you can see all these cars so that they live on forever, not just as an automotive. Like if that piece of, it's almost like taking a painting of the Mona Lisa. Okay, let's say it burnt. Okay, well, in order to have that thing documented, there's photography. There's 3D CAD imaging, all these things to preserve the history of it, not just what it is physically. And that's what's in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. on these cars.
Any famous cars there that the listeners would recognize?
Oh,
or
yeah,
know
and
about?
they're not our cars. They come in and they get done. I mean,
Any from movies or whatever?
Oh, yeah, the Bullitt Mustang, the Steve McQueen Bullitt Mustang from the movie Bullitt. So that Bullitt was in our property. This is kind of funny one. The Ferrari that was in Ferris Bueller.
Bueller.
The Ferris Bueller
Wow.
Ferrari was in, and that was documented. I think there's 17 that are in there right now. It takes quite a while to do it with everything that has to be done, but it's really giving back to the life of what we are doing and what's important by preserving them. but there's also the point of documenting them for
Right.
future generations if they ever want to look it up. You can go on to a website, which is their website, HVA, Historic Vehicle Association, is part of what does that. And then you can also see everything on our website at the nbcenter.com.
And I think historically also you had the car from It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah.
That went
yeah.
up against the tree. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, we have the original Ernie taxi from It's a Wonderful Life on property, and that's preserved. That's not restored. And that goes to a lot of, we put it up in the airport for people to enjoy at the Allentown Airport
Right
for
next
the
to the
holidays.
Allegiant, yeah.
Right, and we also put it in America on Wheels, which is down there along the waterfront in Allentown. For people and kids to watch, they play the movie. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
And then the one other kind of implement that you guys recently did was a showroom right there on site, correct? Can you just speak to that briefly?
Yeah, so we are going to be opening up very shortly our visitor center and our service and maintenance facility for the public. One of the biggest things that we noticed is I get every person that I run into that has an antique car is looking where they can get regular service work. Like, Melody, you take your modern car to get brakes, shocks, this isn't working, your right turn signal's out, inspection, all this stuff. But there's nowhere for antique cars. And so we bought a building, which used to be an old Rayco building right aside of our visitor center on Union Boulevard, and we're going to be opening that up to the public to help all the people and fill it with college students, post-graduation, for extended education after their college. And they're going to be working on these cars, and everything will still be up to our standards. But so if you take a car there and you get work done and you pay, you're helping pay for the future generation of antique and classic maintenance and service.
And that's what's next, I guess, for the NB Center. That's
That's
incredible.
what's next, It's exciting.
If you could leave our listeners with one message about passion, purpose, and leadership, what would it be?
So I remember I worked for Daniel's Cadillac for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, and basically hated it. And I remember Gary Daniels came to me and said, you're never going to make it working on antique cars. And so what I would say to everybody out there, especially younger people, and I don't mean 10, 15, 20, 30-year-olds. I mean, it can be somebody in 40 years old looking for something they had a passion for and they never reached out and did it because they knew they had to make money on something else. Don't give up on dreams. Don't give up. If you feel it inside and it's burning, go for it. Because, if I would have done that, who knows what I would be doing. And I could flip hamburgers at McDonald's. I'm not above it. I have no ego. But I stayed focused, and I followed my dream. I followed my passion. And at the end of the day, as I say to the guys in the shop, it's like, I've never worked a day in my life. I get paid to do a hobby, but I love it.
Do what you love.
Do what you love.
Keith, your story is a reminder that craftsmanship and leadership share the same DNA. They're both about care, vision, and purpose. From your father's workshop to a partnership with Nicola Bulgari, you've helped build something that's not just preserving cars, but preserving America's spirit of innovation and endurance. To our listeners, if you ever get the chance to see the NB Center in Allentown, you'll understand what makes it so special. It's a place where the engines of history still roar and where every restored car is really a restored story. Keith, thank you for your leadership, your artistry, and your time today. And to everyone listening, keep blazing your own trail with heart, with vision, and with a good few miles on the road. I'm Melody Bradford. This has been Trailblazers on WDIY 88.1 FM, where passion drives purpose.